As we all know, Destiny 3 has been cancelled amid the recent layoffs. In fact, there have also been rumors going around that Destiny 3 was never in development, which to me is kind of insane considering Bungie had been silently working on other games, from something like Marathon to a PvP mobile game of Destiny. Destiny as a franchise is roughly 10 years old and is still among the top games of Steam. It feels to me like it's a no-brainer that Destiny 3 should exist. I'll say this again. I know Destiny 3 will not happen, but in an alternate universe in which Destiny 3 does exist, what major changes and directions are needed for this franchise? Destiny lasted for 10 years, which is impressive for a live service game, and it's also no surprise that it's able to be relatively popular as it has some MMO features built into the main gameplay loop of it. So, we can see some parallels with other MMOs such as World of Warcraft. And while I have not played WoW, I can tell you that both Destiny and WoW are not new player friendly. Last year I did try playing WoW, but I gave up in an hour. It was just very boring and it was very dated. There was also like a weird tone shift that went from like serious to like an oddly whimsical tone, and it was just weird and it was done very poorly. And I haven't gotten into like raiding and leveling and whatnot. Destiny 2's tutorial and just its like overall first 10 hours are horrendous. It's so bad that for anyone who wants to start playing Destiny 2, I think they need a veteran to help them through the New Light experience. And even then, I've probably helped like 4 to 5 people get through the New Light experience. I need like 3 tabs open of a generic guide, Reddit posts, because we somehow got soft locked in a tutorial mission for going too fast. I wish I was joking. There's too many things that can soft lock you in the tutorial, and there are also too many instances where you can easily ignore instructions or tips without you knowing. And as a free-to-play game, you need to make sure that the player and their mother's mother can understand how to play. Because it's so easy to download a free game, play for 15 minutes, and uninstall the game even after the smallest amount of inconvenience you run into. And yes, even I am a victim of that. Destiny 2 suffered the lack of new players and only got a surge of active players during expansion releases, but they never really peaked as you expected them to. If anything, there were just times where like past players reconvened if they thought it was worth the time. There are some that say like the elitists or gatekeepers of the game, but I'd like to say that this harmless looking guy is the real true gatekeeper of the game. Many have failed at the gates of Shah Han, even some that never even got to the point to witness his fury due to being softlocked or rage quit to play a different game, maybe Fortnite or something, I don't know. And we don't want that in Destiny 3, so we have to completely break down and redo the entire New Light experience. What the current tutorial lacks is the excitement that you typically see in other modern games. It's too slow paced, it needs a higher sense of urgency. So, following the theme of a random human exo awaken or whatever, being resurrected as a guardian, rather than being revived in the middle of nowhere, you'll get revived in the middle of a war or skirmish as the traveler's last resort. You have to fight waves of enemies, and you can't move on to the next area until you do certain things such as learning how to shoot, using melee abilities, grenades, and finishers or whatever. I find it surprising when I help people get through their first dungeon completion and they ask me how I'm clearing enemies so fast, and I just say, oh, so like my melee ability is like an exploding throwing knife, and wait, what's a melee ability and what button is that? What? You got through the tutorial and not knew the existence of a melee ability? No wonder a lot of people think the game is too hard. So yeah, you'll fight waves after waves of enemies, and you can't go to a new area of the battlefield until you do the certain task the tutorial wants you to do. Then once you learn how combat works, and being able to traverse through like jumping and following objective marker, even pulling out your ghost to clearly see what to do and where to go, being able to change weapons and armor pieces, being able to open the map and fast travel to a fast travel point. Once you get those basics down, you get like a tour of the tower and you'll be given a set of quests and you are free to do whatever. A quick, exciting tutorial that gets all the bare necessities covered, because especially for a free-to-play game, who wants to be drowned in a tutorial for an hour plus long? Chances are, you probably want to play the game with someone, and that someone wants you to do the Vault of Glass raid. No way that guy wants to postpone the raid time because some guy needs to get through the long and confusing 3-hour tutorial who might just end up quitting 20 minutes into it. So yeah, and in order to cover like all the other stuff like exotics, subclasses, rituals, seasonal, and all that, those should be learned at whatever pace the player wants to learn them, since there are a lot of different ways of playing the game. Some people they just want to only play seasonal story and campaigns, so forcing them into Gambit or Crucible doesn't really make any sense. We have to treat the New Light experience like a mobile game, get them to learn the bare basics in the fastest and most engaging way possible, and get them out there in the world and just let them do whatever they want to engage with. If they're confused about something, they'll have quests that can help them introduce them into things like, I don't know, build crafting, ritual playlists, trials, raids, or whatever subsection of that, instead of being forced, but of what they want to learn. Because if I just pulled a random Fortnite player who just wants to do PvP, that guy will quit if he is forced to learn how to do baby raid-like mechanics, because he won't understand that if you look right under your health bar and see the debuff unstable light, I need you to run into the ogre and not kill us all, and we'll know if you kill us all because you'll be the only one standing, and then we'll have to wipe on this easy encounter for the 10th time this past hour. That's an exaggerated example, but your average Fortnite player will quit simply because they lack the amount of brain cells needed, that if you need light motes, you need to kill the knight standing in the light. And if you need dark motes, then you need to stand in the dark and kill the knight. When all they want to do, and potentially all they can do, is just shoot other people in the Crucible and box people with, I don't know, a shackle nade or something. Destiny is a long franchise spanning over a decade long. When Destiny 1 came out, I was like 12 years old or so. I wasn't really good at reading and understanding what I was reading or witnessing. And even for those that had more than 3 brain cells and followed along with the overall lore and story, I'd assume there's a good chunk that stopped playing and stopped paying attention to the game for maybe a few years or for whatever. Then when you came back, you were just like failsafe and went,
"One moment, while I sync with the VanNet database and see if I missed any major events."
Oh, Prince Aldrin resurrected. Savathun disguised as Osiris. Coalition with Empress Keitel. Pirates? Rasputin died? We found Neptune. 15th wish? Jesus, grand fishing?
I don't blame her. I know when I came back to Destiny and actually had brain cells this time, and played towards like the very end of Beyond Light, I was like, what the heck did I miss? Last Wish? Leviathan? Crow? Who and what are these guys? And I do understand that there is a 10-hour lore video that keeps everyone up to date on their Destiny lore, and you also have to remember when you're free to play, your audience is a bunch of TikTok-pilled Zoomers that watch Reels and Shorts every day. Last time I checked, that lore video is not broken down to 10 million TikToks, so there's no way that all that is going to be consumed by your regular free-to-play audience. And story and lore is a big thing in Destiny. That is very apparent to why the Lightfall campaign was not so well received, whereas something like Witch Queen and the Final Shape were very well received. Why? Because the story was good. What I liked about Witch Queen was that it can be consumed as a self-contained story, meaning that you don't really need to know the 10-hour lore video to understand what and why you're doing things. And that success brought many players to the launch of Lightfall expansion, mostly veterans, but I would argue a bit more new players than usual. The easiest way to solve this is just a story reset. Have the story take place 100 years after the events of the Final Shape, or at a different solar system, but just move away from all the tiny details like the 15th Wish, or the Leviathan and all that different minor characters like Nimbus or whatever. Make it much more approachable that doesn't require you to read the Bible in order to understand everything. ChatGPT summarized the needed existing lore into like an hour or two and you're set. There are a lot of people, including myself, that want to be able to follow along and experience, keyword experience, through the story. I don't want to be a new player into an expansion and be told to watch a 10-hour video to understand what happens in a 4-hour campaign. It's just not going to happen. And it's a much better way to actually play through the story and experience it yourself rather than watch a video. I don't know about you guys, but I retain information better when I actually do something. Callus was hard and very imposing emperor. I'll take your word for it because I never did his raid, and I could never experience it because that raid has been deleted from the game entirely. And that goes into my next part, the DCV, the Destiny Content Vault, where they put all the old content in the trash can and say, go on YouTube if you missed out. It's horrible and it punishes those that want to experience the story from start to finish. What that says is that you should have been there in the beginning. Well, if the game stuck its middle finger at me, I would probably uninstall the game right there. if it's for people that have been following the story since the creation of the Bible, then it probably has nothing to do with people that weren't there when it was created, and thus turns new players, especially those who are very curious about the story, which I would say is one of Destiny's strong points, away from the game and franchise altogether. And I mean, the problem can be solved in a lot of ways. If the issue is storage, make that part an optional downloadable content. If it truly is dated, then I'll play the Red War campaign, then delete it when I complete it. I don't think people will even complain if it isn't match-made, but it is a problem when there are no possible ways to even engage in the content that was once made a necessity for everyone. This includes seasonal content too. I really liked Season of the Haunted, and it's a shame that no one would ever be able to experience it, unless you were there when it happened. And just never reintroduce the DCV unless there's a way to access the vault, ever. Obviously, Destiny 3 would be on a new engine, things will look better and play better, and more complex things can be implemented easier and faster, I would imagine. On top of that, there are a lot of quality of life changes that they could implement. One easy one I can think of is to lessen the necessity of third-party websites. Especially under the scope of free-to-play titles, no one really wants to commit opening a website on their second monitor, if they even have an extra monitor. And also considering that Destiny can also be played on console, and I don't think I've ever seen someone open Chrome on their PS5 to transfer a G-Horn from their vault into their Warlock on the PS5 web app itself. And if I did, I'd call them a tryhard loser. Now, they have made it to where you can access the vault while you're in orbit, which is good, but there are still other things that people will go on, I don't know, light.gg or dim for. I'm surprised there's no way to filter your vault in-game, just like you can in dim. Looking for a void SMG with destabilizing rounds? Well, let me go to my 5th tab in my vault, open each void SMG I have, wait for it to load, then hover over each perk to see if it's destabilizing rounds, then make a mental note where it is in my vault when I want to compare it with a different gun with the perk that I'm looking for. It's a nightmare, especially if you're on controller. If I could just type in void SMG or even destabilizing rounds, or both, in-game, that would make it so much better. Now, is it because Destiny is using spaghetti code and couldn't do it even if they wanted to, or they just found it not important enough when they can spend that time on cosmetics and make money? I couldn't tell you. But for a looter shooter that's about collecting loot, it makes it really hard to find that one specific loot that you got. Easy fix, add filters into the vault. Done. One thing I liked with the First Descendant, which is also a live service looter shooter, is that in the activity, it shows you specifically what weapons, materials, and modules you can get in that specific activity, along with a % chance of getting that particular loot. Now, I wasn't too thrilled about seeing a 2% chance of getting like a module, but at least it explicitly told me the chances instead of the community running a lot of tests or going into the API to see which encounters drop that weapon with what perk pool or whatever. Just make it transparent in the game. I don't want to be dragged out of the game, open light.gg to see what encounters the hat drops in Spire of the Watcher, then go on Twitter to see what the drop rates are for that hat. I'm already solving puzzles of where the next dot in this connect the dots are. Can you at least not give me another puzzle to solve that's outside the game? Another easy fix, either put it into the collections or make a place/vendor called the archives where it stores all this information of where and how to get certain items, and the ability to track certain things that you want to chase so you don't have to run back to the archives if you forgot if the Gallahorn was given to you after completing Grasp of Avarice or as a random Crucible drop. This way, it lessens the necessity of needing to sync accounts and log in with your Steam or Bungie account on sketchy websites, because doing that is not normal in this day and age, especially for free-to-play games. I would think it's a scam. This probably isn't really considered quality of life, but make power level matter. I don't really like the direction where the challenge was the game forcing you to be at -20 levels or whatever. I think it's cheap, and it doesn't value the time that the player put into leveling up and just playing the game in general. It's probably to combat the overall power creep in all aspects of the game, both a hard reset on everything. I just hope Destiny 3 doesn't fall victim in what they had to resort to towards the end of Destiny 2. I'd rather have difficulty through complexity rather than numbers. This example will go through many people's head, so I'll try to numb it down as best I can. The recent Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Engage, was a great game, gameplay-wise. The whole gimmick was that each character can summon a past Fire Emblem hero and borrow their godlike power temporarily in battle. I'm talking like sniping someone across the entire map, teleporting, and at the destination you cause a massive explosion, or even healing all your allies to full HP all at once. We had all these tools that seemed pretty OP, but the foes we went up against matched our power level. Not through numbers of attack power or health, no, but by complexity, the unit type, the weapon they had, their placement on the battlefield, their passive abilities. I don't think I've ever complained, why does this boss have so much HP? But in Destiny, that final boss in Ghost of the Deep dungeon had more HP than a raid boss, Nezarec. In the raid, Root of Nightmares, where you had 6 players, not 3, 6 players, the raid boss, Nezarec, final god of pain, had less HP than this random witch in the ocean. It just doesn't make any sense. And it's just a frustrating fake difficulty. But with Destiny 3, they'll have another attempt at making the difficulty scale correctly in a way that is appealing, challenging, and fun all at the same time. When talking about a potential Destiny 3, I think it's easy to point out one specific thing, like add more enemy races and weapons. But if you take a step back and think, who really cares about those type of things? Players that have played hundreds of hours on Destiny. I think that adding new races is still important to better differentiate yourself from Destiny 2, but the whole purpose of making a new game is to onboard new players who probably did want to play Destiny 1 or 2, but were too intimidated by the prerequisites that was hidden within its free-to-play tag. And so for a new player, does a new enemy race really matter? I don't think so, because all the enemy races are new to them. But what does matter for new players is getting through the tutorial with ease, being able to do any activity without any long grinding restrictions, being able to experience the story from start to finish no matter what point you start playing the game, and quality of life that focuses on eliminating the need to gain information or knowledge outside of the game itself. Without these, it creates friction and barriers, and with the free-to-play tag, you're not exactly entitled to get through the tutorial or to invest at least 5 hours before uninstalling because you didn't put any monetary or deep personal investment into it. So it's important to get rid of as much friction and barriers and to be as transparent as you can when relaying information that the player will find useful within the game itself. That way, it will be much more fluid and healthy in pushing both veteran players and new players into the content that really defines Destiny. That includes things like raids, dungeons, exotic missions, trials, Grandmaster Nightfalls, campaign missions, seasonal content, or whatever, because I know Bungie will do a good job at these aspects of the game. But as of right now, if new players fall at the feet of Shah Han, the gatekeeper of new lights, then there isn't really a point in doing all this content to a slow diminishing population of players. Maybe that's why they canceled Destiny 3, or whatever the rumors are. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to this video if you like this type of content. As of this video being published, I'm very close to 300 subs, and that would be a cool milestone for me to get to. And if you have any suggestions for any game that you want me to play, you can leave a comment down below or come join the Discord in the link below that I'm active in. See you guys later.